The Honda CBF 125, the biking equivalent of that one friend of yours that takes no shit from nobody, but is still a really good friend. Two months ago, I was renting a Honda Vision 110 scooter from a rental company that was giving me a deal that included insurance and everything for a set fee. That was working pretty well, but I decided that I wanted to move away from this rental company and get my own bike. Now, I know what you're thinking, this story ends with me buying the Honda CBF 125, and it doesn't. I was actually planning on buying a Vespa 125 or the Honda Vision 110 because it was actually a really good scooter from my experience with it. Now, what happened is that on Christmas Day, just after I'd cancelled the rental program and was looking at getting ready to buy another one, I was given the keys to the Honda CBF 125, and I was very, very happy with it. I was happy to have a new bike, but I was a little worried about the gears. I'd always preferred an automatic, which wasn't how it started off. When I first started riding, I'd originally gone out there and thought, well, I'll get my CBT, then I'll get a geared 125 and I'll be happy. After doing my CBT, I decided instead that an automatic was a lot more fun. But hey, I now had a manual, it was all paid off, even taxed. I just had to get insurance. While you lot were eating your Boxing Day dinner, I was out finding insurance, and I managed to find some. So, I've been riding this bike now for 2 months. I did post a video showing my first response to this bike, and to be honest, most of my first responses were centered around the fact that it was a manual gearbox. This is still a gripe to me to this day. I'm still not a fan of manual gearboxes. Everyone was telling me how much more amazing they are and how I'd get used to them eventually, but now that I have got used to them, I'm still saying an automatic's better. I know that's controversial, but that's a bit irrelevant to this review because if you like a manual gearbox, or if you don't like it, it's nothing to do with this bike. But a lot of the time with this bike, it took me a while to get used to the gearbox. Also, the bike is fairly heavy. It's pretty light in comparison to other bikes of higher CC, but for a 125, it's a pretty heavy bike. Considering my Honda Vision, I could easily get in and out of the shed with just using, just holding the handlebars. This one, I have to have one hand on the handlebars and one hand on the back, even to get a hope of getting it out of the shed. And to get it in, I have to drive the thing in there. It won't go in on its own. It's such a heavy bike, and there have been times when I've dropped it into a bush just because the thing is so hard to maneuver around. The second thing I noticed was the lack of storage space. There isn't any. There is no storage space anywhere on this bike. There's nowhere to put helmets. There's nowhere even to fit a wallet. There is no storage space on this thing. And that's something that took a little while to get used to for me because, again, like scooter before, I could fit a full face helmet in there along with all my gloves and even a high-vis jacket. I could fit basically everything I needed to on that bike. I could even go shopping with it. This one, out of the question. I have to take a backpack with me everywhere. This is not an ideal commuting bike. This is what I use to commute with every single day. Every day I want to drive anywhere, I use this bike because it's my only bike. But it's not exactly impossible to commute with this thing. It does actually handle quite well once you get used to its heavy weight and big size. It can, well, it's not the best lane sweeper out there, it can weave in and out of the traffic and it can quickly change lanes. And with its fairly substantial 125 engine, it can easily get you out of tight spots and there's no problem climbing even the steepest of hills. This bike really comes into its own, however, when you take it into country lanes. Now, I know some people are big speed demons out here. Some big bikers out there are real big speed demons and drive around like their girlfriends on labour all the time, but for me, I'm not a massive speed demon, although I'm pretty sure you're all wondering how fast this thing can go. This thing tops out at 65 miles an hour. Now, I know some of the older versions could go up to 100, and that's because they had a 6th gear. For me, this thing tops out at 65, and at that point I'm about 100 RPM away from the red. I have managed to go a little bit faster, but that was with me in the red and the bike was shaking, so I've decided that going any faster is a terrible idea. But going around at 50, 60 or 40 seems to be the most stable speeds for this bike. Is really fun. This bike corners very well and is very comfortable on long journeys. The longest I've taken this bike on is only a 2-hour trip. I don't want to go much longer than that, and maybe I'll go on a trip that's longer, but basically trips to see relatives on the way to cities, and they are very fun. I'm not a big fan of dual carriageways, but this bike handles the dual carriageways no problem. I haven't used a lot of footage of dual carriageways simply because of the fact that dual carriageways are quite bumpy and the helmet shakes around quite a bit. It's not the most pleasant footage to look at, but it's still very nice. If you're the kind of person that likes dual carriageways, this bike will have no problems handling them. I'll do 65 so it keeps up with all the other traffic, but like I said, this bike goes well when you're at a constant speed, when you're not using the gearbox, when you're cruising around having fun. This is a fun bike. This is the kind of bike that I would buy if I already had a car or already had a scooter and I wanted a perfect commuter, but I wanted something to take out on the weekends with my mates or to take on long trips. Because it's very generous, 13-litre tank means this thing will go very far. It has a generous top speed as well. It is a very nice bike to ride around with and have fun on. But this is a commuter bike for me, and because of its easy handling, it can work as a commuter. I think that a manual gearbox inherently makes this not so easy as a commuter, but I know some of you out there would disagree. To me, the manual gearbox is why I call this the friend that doesn't take any rubbish. The Honda Vision to me felt like a friend that was happy to help, that was happy to take me anywhere I needed to go. It wasn't ideal on the highways, but it shined in the cities. This one's the opposite way round. Feels like a friend that's reluctant in the cities. It'll go, but only if you convince it first. But on the highways, it's happy. That's where it's at its happiest. This bike loves to go at its favourite speeds and loves to corner fast. This is a very fun bike, like I said. So that's the reason I'm recommending this bike for people who don't want to commute, who, they don't need to carry anything while they commute. They just want a fun bike because they've already got a car. They're one of the people who know they've already got a car, or they just walk to work and they just think, I want something fun that's 125cc and cheap to run. This thing is cheap to insure, cheap to fuel, and cheap to fix. It's a very cheap bike. It is, as I said, the perfect complement to another vehicle. Now that I have this though, and considering I didn't buy it, the obvious question is, if I knew what I knew now and I went back to when I was going to buy a bike, would I buy this one? The answer is simply no. But I'm not going to sell this bike. I have seriously considered selling this bike when driving around in traffic, struggling with a gearbox, thinking, why am I doing this? Why don't I just get an automatic and have my life be a whole lot easier? And then I hit the highway and I think, this is why I haven't sold it. This is just too fun to sell. I'm going to keep this bike. I do see myself, after getting my A1, moving back towards scooters, or moving at least towards automatic bikes. I know some people out there say, oh, it's not a real bike, but motorbikes are a very personal item. And although this is definitely going to remain my fun bike, and it can commute, and it will continue to commute for several months, if not years, to come. It's been very faithful to me. I wouldn't recommend this as a commuter, simply because of no storage space and a manual gearbox. But I would recommend it if all you're after is a bit of fun. And I'm glad I got it. That's all from me. This has been Just Another Biker.
And the Bellin proceeds to go get on the motorcycle. The Bellin then gets on the motorcycle adjusts his helmet, revs,
See you around, mate.
see you around. And the bell end is now leaving